Hello everybody, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, doing a science playthrough series here. It's just going to be a little chill one. It's going to be vibes based science playthrough with some mods installed and some custom difficulty settings. It's just going to be a good time. Let's quickly run through those difficulty settings, shall we? So I'm playing in Sol, so I've got some custom settings. Re-entry heating's down to 70% because of course we'll be travelling faster to get to orbit, because we're playing in a 2.5 scale system, so that just balances it back out. Science rewards are at half because I find that the max science rewards are too generous. We've got Kerbals levelling up, and they level up immediately upon hitting the XP limits. We've got part pressure limits, part G-force limits, and Kerbal G-force limits, so we have to be considerate of those factors. Plasma blackout for comms, and we've also increased the range and DSN modifiers to balance out for the larger system. That's pretty much it. We're also playing with probes before crew, so we're going to have lots of probes first before we can send crew into orbit, and that just means we're going to, for me at least, it's going to be more eventful when we eventually get to flying Kerbals in space, and more meaningful. One final thing, parts mods. I believe this tech tree is fully compatible with all my parts mods, so that should be a good time as well. Let's cut to a voiceover Thomas, where he's going to talk you through what we did in today's episode. Hello, it's me, voiceover Thomas. I'm going to be telling you all about our journey through science mode here. Now, unfortunately, the first launch was a bit of a dud. We go smashing into a housing estate. The spin stabilisation did not work as I intended. The whole sort of philosophy with this design was I was going to have a two-stage rocket where the second stage burns away the first stage, and we can try and get, you know, fairly high up for some science. But well, 500 meters was kind of the limit there, unfortunately. So we do just go careening into the ground, but fortunately we managed to take some science from this mission anyway. We managed to transmit some, so basic rocketry it is for now, and we'll have to do a second launch to complete the first tier of the tech tree. Getting some extra science on the old launch pad here with our second design, which is using the swivel. So the swivel is an engine that you unlock fairly early on, and it's got some gimbling properties, so you can actually control where the nozzle's pointing, and that's going to let you basically control your rocket's direction. So using that, I'm just going to go straight up for this one, just hit the edge of the atmosphere, hopefully go past it and get some early science from space. That's the goal here. Just taking some readings. It's good to know what each science node does. So the thermometer is quite good because you can actually reset the experiment and transmit new data when you need to, whereas the goo capsule can't do that. So if you've ever played science mode, you'll know that, but if you haven't, then there you go. And with the mod I've got installed, probes before crew, you actually have like a telemetry report you can use on each probe, and that kind of mirrors the crew reports you get in a way, because the crew reports early on are quite a good source of science to continue your tech tree. So by replacing that with the telemetry report, it just helps balance things out a bit. But here we are, reaching the edge of space. Fairly straightforward ascent. I think the only real problem is getting past max Q. So around breaking the sound barrier, you want to throttle down a bit, because otherwise the aerodynamic forces can just send you flying off course. But now it's just a matter of running experiments, transmitting data, and then waiting for the inevitable. What comes up must come down. I'm sorry to say, it's a second housing estate, or maybe a public school somewhere, that we're blowing up this time. So we do not have a great track record of public safety so far. But unfortunately, that is not something that is in the game. So we can drop our rockets wherever we want, much like China does, unfortunately. Yeah, this series will be a little experiment for me. I just want to see what the reception is and how I get on with the science modes, or any sort of career mode, to be honest, because I don't really play any career modes in this. It's just sandbox for me. I like to have the freedom to design whatever I want, So some of the systems I've not really engaged with, like the science system, I've not used much. The tech tree I'm not too familiar with, and obviously I've modded it as well, so it's even more different than normal. There's probably loads of other stuff like biomes I'm not too familiar with, and with the soul mod, again, it's going to be different to stock. So for me, this is more of an exploration of some of the systems that I don't often use in this game. So it should be interesting. Another one of those is actually the Comnet system. I have that disabled on Sandbox. I just don't find it enjoyable to engage with when I'm just wanting to do my own designs. But in science mode, of course, there's probably some more engaging elements there to interact with. So I'm giving it a go. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, should be interesting. It's third launch here. Similar to the last one, except we've put another kick stage on top, so we can hopefully reach some higher altitudes, because I know there's some different science you can get from there's like a sort of low orbit or low altitude above Earth, and there's like a higher altitude above Earth, and I think there's a cut-off at around 500 kilometers or so, so we're going to try and aim to get above that and then do some science there, where we just drop the first stage there and enable the kick stage, hopefully to push our apogee all the way up to a sufficient altitude. And looks like we were successful, so we're going to be able to get some more science. And we're also going to detach the probe here as well, so we can just conduct all of our experiments as we see fit. And we're testing a new antenna, which seemed to be quite handy. I think it transmits science a bit faster, and I think it's got further range as well, so I thought I'd just chuck it on there just to test it out and see how it works, and it was alright. I hope everyone's doing well. This whole series, I think I just want it to be chill, you know, just something you can put on in the background to listen to. Maybe we'll talk about other topics at some point as well, while I'm doing boring things like transmitting science. We'll get onto some stuff, I suppose. Whatever comes out of my mouth really is kind of the plan with this one, to be honest with you. It's going to be raw and uncut. But the experience should be interesting, and the videos, I hope, are interesting. Re-entry now, and yeah, pretty much business as usual at the moment. We're just launching rockets, crashing them into the ground, or in this case the ocean. We didn't hit any public buildings this time, which is good. And the probe glided here, which is strange. I suppose it's got some lift properties. It's one of KSP's quirks. Some parts just have some weird aerodynamic properties, and well, there you go. There's a perfect example. The Stay Putnik probe clearly has something going on with its physics, but eventually we stall and start falling towards the Earth once again. We've not been able to recover any science yet. We've just been transmitting it, which is fine for some experiments like the thermometer, but for the goo, you really want to return that equipment to Earth so you can recover it. You get more science points that way. So experiments that we've transmitted, we're going to have to run again eventually, just so we can recover them, and that's the goal of this mission actually, because we just unlocked some survivability stuff like heat shields and parachutes. Now, I did have an issue with the heat shield actually. The size heat shield that we've unlocked is supposed to match the probe. They're the same. They're classed as the same size, but the heat shield was actually slightly smaller. So re-entry was just deadly for this probe. So I've decided to use tweak scale to just size it up just enough to where it actually works, and I think that's a fair thing to do. It's my single player series, so I can do what I want, to be honest. But just in case anyone asks, what's my sort of rules around tweak scale? It's basically don't cheese, don't size up engines or fuel tanks any significant amount, because it kind of kills the point of trying to unlock bigger fuel tanks, right? Other things like experiments, I feel more comfortable adjusting the size of, because to me it's like, well, you know, we can just send up a smaller capsule of mystery goo, less quantity, and we can do the science on that, right? So to me that makes sense. And other things, you know, I'm happy to size up and down, so long as you can sort of logic your way out of it, I guess. And obviously with the heat shield, that was kind of a block to my progress, because on this mission we're actually sort of doing a quasi-orbit. So we've done that orbit there, we did some science high above the Earth, and we're going to re-enter now so we can actually recover it for the first time. And that was the whole point of this mission, was to get some additional science that way. There are other ways I could have done it, like some people like to build these little probes that they roll around the space center, because each building actually has its own biome, and you can get more science that way. That just feels like cheesing to me. I don't want to do that. I want each mission on this this science playthrough to have some sort of real application, like you know, we're doing orbital space science here. Well, not orbital space science here, just space science at the moment, testing new rockets, things like that. Some other missions will be obviously going to other planets, doing sort of environmental science where we send probes to different biomes to learn about them, stuff like that. Rolling around the space center just seems really dumb, and I don't want to do that where possible, so I'll use tweak scale there to avoid having to do certain missions that I consider to be sort of silly. It's my, you know, trying to make this playthrough enjoyable. I don't want to be doing the same missions over and over again, so obviously with the decreased science gains, you're going to be earning less per mission. There might be a case where, you know, you have to do some boring repetitive mission. I want to try and avoid that as much as possible by making each mission fairly interesting. So we'll see what happens, see how we get on with it. I've never done science mode to any significant degree, as I've mentioned, so it's all of an experiment at the moment. But we did re-enter here, and we've got our mystery goo results. And we're also landing in the ocean, which is good, because we can actually get some more data from that as well, which is handy. So we're just going to use the last goo there, and we're actually going to be able to recover it all as well. Then we can move on, unlock the next node, and I think general rocketry or basic science is the ones I'm looking at here, but I can only afford general rocketry with the amount of science points, so we're just going to go with that for now. And this one's quite handy because it unlocks a few more tanks, a few more engines, a few more decouplers, stuff like that. So big fan, big fan. This next unlock should also enable us to go to the moon. And actually I didn't go with general rocketry in the end. I think I went with like stability or something. I think there's a few things on there that appealed to me. Probably the barometer. That's an extra science experiment you can do. I think that was on the one I just unlocked. Regardless, whatever I've unlocked, I like it. I think one of the things I did unlock actually is the capsule we're using for this mission, which is a universal storage mod part. It's a little triangular shaped capsule. You can store experiments and batteries and things inside, and I think it's neat. I just like the look of it. I like using that stuff. It's got some aesthetic value. It's also got the value of hiding what would otherwise be parts installed externally inside, so it's more aerodynamic. It's handy, basically. I quite like it. But this mission is going to test the limits of our rocket science abilities at the moment with our current technology, and we're going to try and do a lunar flyby. That should gain us a lot of science. We're not going to be able to, of course, return it just yet. That'll be a mission for a later date, hopefully. But it should give us enough to get the next module that we want on the tree. So we're going to launch to orbit, get our first proper orbit, and that'll be a nice accomplishment. And then, of course, we're going to go for the moon, and that'll be a second accomplishment there, to fly by the moon and get some science about that. And hopefully that will let us continue our journey through the tech tree. I've sort of been thinking about the final goal of this series, and I'm thinking a manned mission to Mars is a nice stretch goal for it. Of course, we need to get to manned flight first. We haven't even done that yet. That'll be the first major milestone for that goal, of course. But yeah, it'll be good to get through the tech tree and get that far anyway, because I've never really gotten much further than there before. So I would consider that an accomplishment within its own right. But here we are doing our transfer burn to the moon here, and we'd had just enough delta V to make it work. We managed to get a good close flyby, which is great because we can actually get science points from both the sort of higher lunar sphere of influence and the lowest lunar sphere of influence as well. So we're going to get enough science there. And we're going to maximise the trajectory we put ourselves on. And we're just adjusting it here with the thruster. We've got a tiny amount of delta V left to make some corrections. And off we go. We're going to extend the commutrons here so we can transmit all the science back to Earth once we get there. And we just need to time warp away and time warp to the moon. As I said, we're not going to be able to return anything, so I decided to put the probe on a trajectory so we get a gravity assist, which then flings us out into a deep space trajectory outside of Earth's sphere of influence, and that just helps us transmit a little bit extra science at the end of the mission. because obviously that's considered its own separate sort of biome or region where you can do experiments. So I thought, let's just maximize the value of this probe while it's on this current trajectory, and just send it off into deep space, get some more information, so we can transmit the maximum amount of data possible. And we're coming up to our close flyby now, and this is where we're going to get some more data. That's our first look at our closest celestial neighbour. And hopefully we'll send the lander there soon. That would be good for some science as well. Now I know the moon has different biomes as well, so we'll have to try and send a few to explore each biome and get the maximum amount of science. I'm not sure how to map biomes early on, or if it's just a matter of guessing. I suspect the poles have different biomes, and craters will have biomes, and there'll be a mountainous region on the back side of the room of the moon that has different biomes, stuff like that. It's just common sense, really, I would imagine. And same with Earth, right? The South Pole will have a biome. There'll be like deserts, rainforests where you expect them, mountains where you expect them. So we're going to do some planetary science at some point, just so we can help pad our gains as well. So we'll definitely send probes to some more biomes, but that will be the next episode, because I think that's the conclusion for this one. I think Lunar Flyby is a good little send-off, and we're just going to get the basic science research here. This unlocks the Science Junior, which is a really great initial science experiment to use. It gets you a good chunk each time you use it, and I'm just trying to unlock as many different experiments as I can, just so I can keep the career mode rolling quickly without having to do any shenanigans. So yeah, that's pretty much the first episode done. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully the commentary was nice and relaxing, and yeah, I'm going to get working on the rest of the series, recording and editing and doing the voiceovers, and hopefully it's just a nice series you can pop on in the background and enjoy. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.